Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. Good to be with you. I'm Don Hudson. Early voting is now underway all across East Tennessee, including here in Knox County. There are a number of races on the ballot, everything from the presidential election, there is no way you don't know that, right, to the U.S. Senate race, the state Senate, state House races. Also here in Knoxville, there are 2 amendments to vote on as well. And the election officials are saying you should do your homework before you head to the polls. Chris Davis with the Knox County Election Commission, the administrator, joins us now with more. And thank you, because I know it's a busy time with early voting getting underway. I saw the lines myself. Everyone's probably curious as how the first day of early voting went in Knox County.
Overall, it went exceptionally well.
Yeah.
We were open for 12 hours, voted over 13,000 people that first day. There were long lines just about everywhere, but even then, typically what we were hearing is anywhere between, even in the long lines at like downtown West and Farragut,
right,
Halls and the Expo Center, you know, like 45 minutes to an hour. And as I've told people before, I really want folks, if you stand in line for an hour during early voting, that's much better than 3 hours on election day.
Right, and at least at Farragut, half of that line was in the shade, the other half wasn't because it's not covered.
Yeah.
So your first day was huge. The next day, the second day, doing pretty well too, right?
Very much so. Yeah, very similar numbers. You know, we're looking at double. When I say double figures, you know, well over 10,000 every day is kind of what we shoot for during early voting, right, because that just makes election day more manageable for us and more manageable for our workers.
Getting to that point, so you have early voting. And then you have election day voting. What's the percent of which one? I mean, what's the percent of people who vote early versus the people that vote on election day?
It varies by election. Some small elections, you'll see 50-50. A presidential primary, like in March, you'll generally see more election day than early voting. But at this point, you know, for a presidential election, it's kind of baked into the cake. Everybody knows there's an election going on, if you will. So my goal in Knox County, and we're always, out of 95 counties, we're consistently one of the top 5 in terms of its percent of voters that vote early. And I'm always shooting for that top 5%. I'm hoping we get 78 to 80%. We had somewhere around 77, 78% 4 years ago. And that doesn't include absentee ballots.
That's early voting.
That's early voting and absentee. Okay. That's right. But if I can get 80% of my voters voting early and absentee, election day is much more manageable. And frankly, it makes it easier on our workers because it's a very long day. And frankly, all of these days during a presidential election, these 14 days of early voting, my workers are really working hard,
right,
and so I would ask, you know, voters out there that are watching just to give a little bit of grace and to tell them thank you, because they do this because they love it,
right,
but it's also good. They love to hear, you know, affirmation. Hey, appreciate you being here, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's the middle of the day at fast food restaurants, and then there's the rush, the dinner time, and this is going to be rush every day when people come. I'm just curious. You've been around this a long time. This is not a numbers question. The willingness of people to stand in that line for an hour or so, like you are seeing. I'm just curious how you look at that, because you'll eventually get the number, and I know you keep track of those numbers, they're important, but just the getting into the kind of the heart and soul of people that are willing to do that. You ever reflected on that?
Yeah, well, you know, everybody kind of has their own threshold, and they have to, you know, make that determination for themselves. And certainly we're in a Chick-fil-A type society where if we're in line more than 5 minutes, there's a problem. But I do think the voters, you know, certainly the first couple of days have been very cordial. They understand it. I think, thankfully, the fact that there's some good weather probably helps that. And everybody we're talking to is excited. And I think to a large degree, they just want to get it over with. I've heard that many times. They want to bank their vote. They want to get it over with. They've heard enough about the election, so to speak. And so I think they're taking that opportunity to get out. Even though the long lines, I have heard people, you know, just kind of anecdotally, like, I saw a line and so I turned away. That line's not that long.
Right.
I would rather them vote now than even wait until like those last couple days of early voting, because although I'll take them, there's going to be really long lines that last week, that week of Halloween. And so, you know, these lines are not that long now. And a voter hack for all of your people who might vote. Vote on the weekends. Saturdays generally are less crowded.
Okay.
As well as you go out to particularly East Knox County. You look at Gibbs, Corryton. You look at Carter.
And on that subject, you don't have to go when you do early voting.
Go wherever you want. As long as you're in Knox County, you can go to any Knox County location. Right. If you're in a neighboring county like Blount County, I think they have 4 locations. I think Anderson has 2 or 3. Right. Loudon's has 2 or 3. So no matter where you are, there are early voting locations. If you live in that county, you can use any one of them.
Are you seeing the whole age spectrum of voting? Or have you noticed any younger voters that are
much so.
into this?
I was commenting to someone yesterday, the first election really in probably 3 or 4 years where I'm noticing a ton of strollers. people walking in with babies, and that tells me there's younger people, there's parents that you maybe, you know, we had 60,000 people vote in March, 56,000 in August. You didn't see a whole lot of that. Now, when we're looking upwards of 200,000 plus, I'm seeing everybody come out, and so it's crossing all demographics, all age ranges, and so it's heartening to see as an election official. And our people, they're busy, but they really want to work. They do not like sitting around twiddling their thumbs, and they're not going to do it for the next couple of weeks.
I'm sure. Say they might like a break here and there, but it's not coming. How many volunteers does it take in Knox County to make this happen? I know you have people that are on the are paid for this, you know, but then there's volunteers.
Well, they're all paid, to be clear, all of our workers. We're going to have about 180 different workers that are doing all of our early voting at our 12 sites across Knox County. And
so none of those people, they volunteer, but then they come in and say, we want to do it, but they're paid.
They're paid. They're all paid to work, and frankly, I'm not sure anybody would want to do this level of work for free. And we ask them to do it. It's not particularly onerous work, but it is very meticulous work. We want to make sure we get it right. And I know the voters out there want us to get it right. And then you turn around on Election Day, we're probably going to have somewhere between 800 and 900, maybe close to 1,000 that will staff the 78 polling places. And ultimately, you know, that's a very long day for them as well.
Just digging into some of the specifics here. Cell phones. I mean, a lot of people, you can't have signs too close, and there's some rules about voting, but your cell phone, a lot of people think you can't have your cell phone, but you can. You can
take your cell phone in. I encourage people, you know, as part of the do your homework, so to speak, if you don't know who you're voting for and you want to text somebody in the polling place or you want to look up some information, that's perfectly acceptable. What is not acceptable under Tennessee law is getting on the phone, having a conversation, or taking pictures or videoing inside the polling place and that 100-foot boundary. But, you know, nonetheless, we see this all the time. People looking up something, maybe they're texting somebody to ask them a question. We're fine with that because we want the voters to be educated when they go in. And even if they're not super educated, the whole phone a friend from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I was going to just say, this is... you know, you can text a friend, you know, do whatever you need to do to be informed so that you're not in there 7, 8, 9 minutes. Maybe you're only in there. And I tell you, the big difference I've seen, Don, is the people who are in the city versus not. If you're not in the city because you don't have those 2 extra questions, that ballot is 45 seconds to a minute tops. But if you got the questions, people are taking 3 and 4 and 5 minutes to try and digest those.
That's what I want to get into here at the end. These questions, do you think, clearly you just sort of answered that question, are they prepared and do they understand? Because, boy, there's some legalese in those questions.
There very much is, and it's one of those things we told folks, you know, please do your homework before you go. Still have a good week and a half left of early voting plus Election Day, and I would encourage your voters, there's plenty of resources out there. I know your station's done a good job of reporting on, you know, yes on Amendment 2, no on Amendment 2. We don't editorialize the election commission. And we, as election officials, to be clear, we can't answer those questions in the polling place. We always
what would you do? And you're
all we say is the ballot speaks for itself. And so we just advise the voters. I've seen a lot of inquisical looks. We've had some questions. We can't answer those. I would, you know, recommend talking to city council or whatever resource you need to make that decision.
Yeah, your guys are going to be like Regis Philbin and just say, hey, I'm just here.
That's right.
You've got to say exactly A, B, C, or D.
We're Switzerland, basically.
The people are Switzerland. As far as it's going great, you're seeing the great numbers, exactly what you expected or better than expected?
About what I expected, yeah. You know, I'm heartened to look at the 10-day forecast, and it's good weather. We've added an extra location for the first time ever. We have 11 locations for the entirety of early voting, and for the last week of early voting, we've got a spot at UT. So for the first time ever, Knox County has 12 locations.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that we think helps Knox County be in that top 5 in the state in early voting percentage of voters. And so I just encourage voters, that Gibbs-Corrington area in particular, it was a little lighter there yesterday. That's a good place if you want a good country drive. Get out there and see the colors on the trees. Drive up there and vote. Carter Senior Center is the same way. Eternal Life over on Martin Luther King, the same way. There's not as long a lines. You might get there, particularly on the weekend. That's where I'm voting, is one of those 3 places on Saturday. So I won't be in line. So 4 or 5 minutes. And for the record, I do not have a fast pass, just for the record.
Okay, I was just going to say, you don't have, okay, you don't just say, hey, hey, it's Chris, okay.
If anything, they put me in the back of the line, so.
Well, that's good advice. I mean, if you want advice, you're saying when to do it and where to do it.
You're going to encounter longer lines. And to be clear, particularly for folks that we've seen a ton of these as well, Don, I was talking about the strollers, we're seeing a lot of people on walkers and wheelchairs. Folks who probably should have voted absentee, but it's really, really important to them to vote in person. I would encourage you to go somewhere where the lines aren't as long, but also places like Downtown West and Farragut will make accommodations for voters with disabilities, walkers, wheelchairs, that type of thing.
Okay, let them in there and keep them out of line. Yeah, I've seen some of that. I saw some of that Farragut where they were dropping off someone and the other one was waiting in the car until they got up. Well, Chris, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You're clearly excited about it. It seems to be going well. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Still to come on Tennessee This Week, our panel of pundits weigh in on some of the races on the ballot. Plus, we look at the findings from the latest Beacon poll. That's next. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. On Tuesday, ahead of the start of early voting, the latest Beacon poll was released. Now, that poll shedding light on how Tennessee voters are leaning right now. And there are, of course, a number of races on the ballot, including the race for the White House. You obviously know that. The new poll shows that here in Tennessee, Vice President Kamala Harris is down 21 points against former President Donald Trump. However, as you can see here as well, Harris is outperforming President Biden in the same poll by 7 points. Biden getting 28 compared to Harris's 35. While Trump still maintains a solid lead, pollsters say it is clear that the Democrats made the better decision to replace Biden on the ticket there with Kamala Harris. Now, the Beacon poll also found that Tennessee voters believe that Trump leads Harris on handling natural disasters and the economy. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. There is much more to unpack with this poll, but we will start in that particular area. I know it's Tennessee, and it does lean toward the conservative candidate, toward the Republican candidate, but just on that question, because it is timely. And by the way, in case people don't know, with our panel here, that's what I should have introduced you already, Craig Griffith, Courtney Piper, Michael Covington. Sorry, I just jumped the gun.
And this is Don.
Yes, that's right. We all know they know who you are, and we know who you are. Saying that, because this poll was actually taken during the time that we had all this flooding and all this crisis, so it was on top of everybody's mind that President Trump would be better for that. I just want to first get your reaction there. Can you even see why that would happen, or do you agree with that, or do you think there's not enough evidence to be making that type of decision or that type of vote, so to speak?
Well, in Tennessee, everyone is going to be the majority of the people are going to be pro-Trump, as indicated in the poll's results. So the poll results aren't surprising to me. The Marsha Blackburn, Gloria Johnson race is the margin is a little bit more than I thought it would be. 6 years ago, when Marsha Blackburn ran against former Governor Bredesen, the margin of victory was only 11 points. So I've asked, and over the course of the years, will that margin be reduced? Is the state changing to a more democratic? And it certainly isn't.
And these are the numbers. That was the next thing I was going to get into. But like you said, it is a 23-point vote difference. Courtney, are you surprised it's this much, that it's not a little bit closer?
I'm actually surprised by this spread here. And, the Beacon Center is a right-of-center group, so it makes sense to see this large of a spread from them in terms of this race. I know the Gloria Johnson's campaign has polling that indicates differently, so we'll just have to see what happens on Election Day. This is a really great race for Democrats to pick up some points. I think we should not be surprised to see Gloria Johnson actually outperform Governor Bredesen. But again, we'll have to wait until Election Day to get those results. That's the only poll that counts.
Right. And by the way, the Beacon Online, I'm just letting everyone know where that's coming in case they haven't read it. 1,200 registered voters in Tennessee from September 27th to October 8th. That's when they did that survey. Are you surprised by that spread, Michael?
I thought the spread would be wider.
Really?
But I think the spread will get wider as we approach Election Day. Gloria Johnson is not well liked in Tennessee. I've said that before. She's not a popular candidate. She will not perform well against Marsha Blackburn. That's just a given.
Right.
As it relates to the balance of the election and the last days we have, I think the margins for those who are ahead right now will expand.
Okay. Interesting enough, from this same poll, 36% of likely Tennessee voters believe that Gloria Johnson's political views are too liberal. And 30% of likely voters in Tennessee say Marsha Blackburn is too conservative. I'm curious of your reaction to that.
Well, it depends on who you're interviewing. So that doesn't surprise me. Most Americans are a little center-right, center-left, and want people and candidates in that mode. So, both of them are on the farther on the political spectrum to each side than probably the majority of Tennesseans are. But, the only thing that I found interesting in this poll is a sub-tab of the independent party that they had. And in that sub-tab on independents, 16% are still undecided.
Right.
Not sure. So that surprised me. I didn't think there were any more undecided voters out there at all. This campaign's been going on for 2 years. If you don't have an opinion on it by now, what's going to make the difference? But if that's indicative of other states, that's a much larger pool of undecided voters than I thought that existed. So it'll be interesting. And like Courtney says, yeah, I'm tired of these polls. It's time for the election. We're voting early. We have many people voting. Let's get down to the one poll that makes a difference.
Well, in the state of Tennessee, we know we have abysmal voter turnout. And so that 16% that's undecided, I don't know if they're necessarily deciding between one candidate or the other. I think they're deciding between going to vote and sitting on their couch. So, and this is also why in the state of Tennessee we've seen great polarization, especially in our state house and state senate, because we have abysmal voter turnout. And so the most extreme candidates tend to win their primaries and move on to their races. So once Tennesseans get up off their couches and go vote, and it's incumbent upon all of us and candidates and parties to convince people that your votes will matter, even if you live in sort of a super majority part of the state of Tennessee, that your vote does matter.
I'm curious, Michael, if you were helping Gloria run in this race, and you can back up some time before, with this kind of number where they think that 35% of Tennesseans think that she is too far to the left, would you advise her to get a little bit closer to the center, or is this just one of those races where she's going to go out there and get her name? And I know you wouldn't be on her team, but I'm asking, would you?
But I could advise her.
Can I see him on her team?
I could advise her even if I'm not on her team. I can give her advice that I think is realistic and valuable. And it would be, get to the center as soon as you can. Go from county to county and tell them I'm not the liberal lunatic that you think I am, and give me a shot. Just listen to my platform and what I actually favor, and see whether or not you'd be willing to vote for me.
What about her platform do you think is too liberal?
Quite honestly, I haven't looked at her platform. I would not dare to look into her platform for fear that I would turn it into a pillar of salt. So I don't really know what her platform is. What I know is that, from what I know of Gloria, she's as far left as she could possibly be.
Courtney?
And again, I would say, how so? What has she done? What has she said? What sort of policies has she supported and passed that lead you to believe that? I would say those 30 and 30 on either side shows that they're pretty evenly matched.
Right.
You can't please all the people all the time. And I know Gloria, and the way she runs is you've got to stand for something. You can't be so in the middle that a voter looks at you and goes, I don't know what you stand for, because you won't give me a yes or no answer on anything. Right. So the way that she has been running this race, which is something that I think all Tennesseans can be proud of, and especially Democrats, is she is saying yes or no unequivocally where she stands on some of the top issues that Tennesseans care about.
Well, I think
she's not unequivocal about what office she wants to run and win in. She's running at State House, she's running for Senate.
And the Republicans didn't put up anyone against her in the State House.
Right, and they couldn't vote that down. But, I'll say that in Gloria's advertising, it's fairly clear where she stands. She's for more women's reproductive rights. She's a gun owner but wants common sense gun reform. So there are these issues that are, there is no more middle in Tennessee. If you believe in expanding women's reproductive rights, common sense gun control, things like that, you're outlandish. You're not in the middle anymore. So, the middle has disappeared. There are no more moderates. You can't win a primary if you're a moderate.
There's no place to stand in the middle. All the good standing spots are left or right.
Well, this election will determine that.
All right. Well, we appreciate all your input on that. Stay with us, everyone. We have much more to unpack here on Tennessee This Week. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. We've been talking about the Beacon poll, and one thing that we did not get into it, but we want to here, is that they did ask the question, would you be more or less likely to vote for a candidate who supports school choice policies? Now, the people that said more likely, that was 58%. Less likely was 18%, and neither more or less. That I don't know exactly where they're undecided about it. That was 20%. Is that at all surprising? We'll start with you, Michael, that 58%, almost 60% of Tennesseans are saying, yeah, I would rather vote for someone who's all about school choice.
The governor is moving the needle. It looks like he will get his voucher program in the mix in the next session. And these results do show that people favor parents having an opportunity to have choice. And there are a multitude of choices. We've talked about a number of those. And I hope it comes to pass.
Well, first off, he's mentioning pillar assault. Now he's coming to pass.
I don't know what's happening.
Getting
all spiritual
getting an
today.
Old Testament on us.
But, so the governor has not garnered more support. What the Beacon Center figured out how to do was ask the question in the right way to get the response that would support the governor. If you dig into the crosstabs,
I know a lot of polls that is the case.
What they asked when they said school choice, in the question of school's choice, they said public school, homeschool, or private school, supporting those with public dollars. So if you're getting asked this question of, do you support choice as a parent of where to send your child, public school, private school, homeschool with public dollars, it's kind of a confusing question. It's like, well, yeah, I would want to know I have a choice in where I send my child to a public school, or if I'm, so the question does not say, do you favor vouchers? The question does not say, do you favor any of the proposals that were put in front of the State General Assembly? The reality of what happened in the Tennessee General Assembly last session does not compare with this question. So if the governor and his supporters are going to launch a voucher program campaign based on this question, they will fall flat on their faces.
I agree with Michael that the governor is moving down that path of getting this approved this year. But then the storm, Hurricane Helene came, and resulting in billions of dollars of infrastructure repairs needed in East Tennessee. And now I'm hearing rumblings in Nashville about, can we afford everything? Can we afford to repair those bridges and roads in East Tennessee and fix I-40? And along with vouchers, is there enough money in the pot? And of course, the governor's saying yes, there is. But I think there is some doubt among the legislatures that we can afford all of that. And perhaps the repairing of the infrastructure in East Tennessee is a bigger priority for them than vouchers. And so now I'm a little hesitant to think that it might pass this year.
Yeah, do you think that it's just a matter of them changing exactly what it is and what can, and maybe even doing more pilot programs with this, or do you just think that, again, if it comes up, that it won't get passed?
Well, the pilot programs don't provide them with any evidence or data to support their position. All the evidence from the pilot program show that the students that participated in this program didn't do any better than children in public school. So they continue to run pilots. They could do that, but it's not going to give them the evidence that they need to continue to expand the program. Also, let's have a conversation about whether this is fiscally responsible. We have a supermajority of Republicans in the State General Assembly who champion fiscal conservatism all the time. Let's talk about if this is a fiscally responsible way to spend public dollars.
And we have two more subjects real quickly. That poll said that 48% of Tennesseans support term limits for the U.S. Supreme Court. Your reaction?
Surprising.
Yeah.
I think I'm surprised at that because the polls indicates they polled a fairly conservative portion of people. So I would think that people like it the way it is and wouldn't have supported term limits. That's a fairly radical idea.
Michael,
I would call it sour grapes. Had Hillary Clinton won in 2016, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. She would have appointed two Supreme Court justices, and Democrats wouldn't even be considering this.
Last word, Courtney.
I don't take much stock in that question. I don't think it really reflects. I really don't think it reflects where Tennesseans are on this issue. It was a question that needed to be answered, and I don't think folks haven't had much thought on it.
Well, we only have 1 minute left, and our final question is not really political so much as it is your palate and your taste buds. They did ask voters about pumpkin spice lattes because it is fall. And people who said this was, I am going to say my opinion here, I'm shocked because I thought they got so much publicity that everybody loved them. But apparently it's basically the same amount of people hate them as love them. So where are you on pumpkin lattes, pumpkin drinks?
Well, those numbers closely
You gotta hurry. We only got...
closely mirror the left and right.
Okay, yes.
Dislike.
Dislike for Courtney?
Dislike.
Don't care.
Don't care? You weren't waiting for fall to put on your boots and your vest and get a pumpkin
I
latte?
always ask the folks at Chick-fil-A, do they have a new flavor?
So do we get spiced lattes if the Vols win on Saturday?
I don't know.
Saturday.
Anyway, we just figured we'd wrap it up the way. Hey, thank you very much for watching Tennessee This Week, and we will see you back here next week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Next Star Broadcasting.